Have you ever wondered what it truly costs to live only for others? This is the story of Elias. Elias was known by everyone in his bustling town as the kindest soul, always ready to lend a helping hand. He wore a warm, comforting smile every single day, becoming the reliable anchor for his friends, family, and distant colleagues. Whenever someone needed a favor, Elias was the first to step forward, completely ignoring his own exhaustion and personal boundaries. People praised his endless generosity, constantly telling him how perfect he was, which only fueled his deep desire to please. But this perfection was merely a carefully crafted performance, a heavy mask he wore to secure their affection and approval. Behind closed doors, when the laughter faded and the crowds dispersed, a profound silence would slowly creep into his room. The charming smile would vanish, replaced by a hollow stare that reflected the overwhelming emptiness echoing deep within his heart. He realized he was surrounded by countless people who loved the helpful character he played, not the real, vulnerable man. Every morning he would stand before the mirror, rehearsing the cheerful expressions that the world expected him to flawlessly deliver. It felt as though he was an actor trapped inside a relentless play, desperately hoping the audience would just keep clapping. He feared that if he ever stopped performing, the applause would cease and he would be left entirely alone forever. So Elias continued to pour from an empty cup, giving away fragments of his soul until almost nothing remained inside. He attended every social gathering, laughing at jokes he found dull, simply to maintain the illusion of absolute, unwavering happiness. Deep down, a quiet voice begged for rest, but the loud demands of his carefully built reputation easily drowned it. He had forgotten what his own laughter sounded like, burying his true desires beneath mountains of obligations and external expectations. Life became a series of exhausting obligations, a relentless marathon where the finish line kept moving further and further away. He was universally loved, yet he felt entirely invisible, a ghost wandering through a life that did not belong to him. The burden of being everything to everyone was slowly crushing his spirit, leaving him breathless beneath the weight of expectations. Then, one crisp autumn afternoon, everything changed when Elias decided to rest on a secluded bench in the quiet park. An elderly stranger sat beside him, feeding the birds with a serene grace that immediately caught Elias's tired, wandering attention. Elias, out of pure habit, offered the old man his only bottle of water, flashing his signature well-practiced smile. The stranger gently declined, observing Elias with piercing, soulful eyes that seemed to look right through his carefully constructed facade. For a long moment, the old man said absolutely nothing, letting the silence wrap around them like a comforting blanket. Finally, the stranger spoke softly, his voice carrying the weight of ancient wisdom and a deep, unspoken understanding of pain. He said, "You are incredibly good at being exactly what other people need you to be in every single moment. But I wonder, as I sit here watching you, what is it that you actually want for your own life?" The question struck Elias like a sudden bolt of lightning, freezing his practiced smile and shattering his carefully maintained composure. He opened his mouth to deliver a rehearsed answer, but no words came out, only a trembling, quiet, breathless sigh. What did he actually want? The truth was he had absolutely no idea, having ignored his own needs for decades. The stranger simply smiled, patted Elias on the shoulder, and slowly walked away, leaving the profound question hanging in the air. That night, Elias could not sleep, the stranger's gentle words echoing endlessly within the silent, dark walls of his bedroom. He realized that his entire existence was built on serving others, while his own soul was starving for genuine nourishment. A profound shift began to take root in his mind, a terrifying yet exhilarating realization that he needed to change. The very next day marked the beginning of his quiet rebellion, a journey toward discovering his true, authentic, hidden self. When a colleague asked him to take on an extra project, Elias paused, his heart racing with unfamiliar, intense anxiety. Instead of his usual cheerful acceptance, he took a deep breath and softly said, "No," explaining he was too busy. The colleague looked surprised, but simply nodded and walked away, leaving Elias standing there in a state of absolute shock. The world did not end, the sky did not fall, and he was not immediately hated for setting a boundary. This small victory sparked a quiet revolution within him, giving him the courage to slowly dismantle his exhausting daily habits. He began to decline invitations to events he dreaded, choosing instead to spend quiet evenings reading alone at his home. The discomfort of disappointing others was sharp at first, a heavy guilt that threatened to pull him back into compliance. But with every polite refusal, he felt a tiny piece of his soul returning, filling the empty spaces within him. Elias started to slow down, taking long, aimless walks in the forest, listening to the wind instead of people's demands. He stopped rehearsing his smiles in the mirror, allowing his face to rest in its natural, peaceful, and honest state. Some people drifted away, confused by his sudden lack of constant availability, and Elias learned to let them go gracefully. He realized those relationships were built entirely on his utility, not on a genuine appreciation for who he truly was. Stripping away the heavy masks allowed him to breathe freely for the very first time since he was a boy. He discovered a passion for painting, spending hours mixing colors on a canvas, expressing emotions he had long kept hidden. In these quiet moments of creation, he finally found the inner peace that had eluded him for his entire life. He was no longer performing for an audience. He was simply existing, truly honoring his own needs and personal desires. The hollow emptiness that once haunted his nights was gradually replaced by a warm, comforting sense of quiet, genuine contentment. As he became more authentic, he began to attract people who valued his honesty over his ability to be useful. His new friendships were rooted in mutual respect, requiring no exhausting performances or fake smiles to maintain their strong bond. When he laughed now, it was a deep, resonant sound that came directly from his heart, pure and beautifully real. Elias had successfully transformed his life simply by daring to ask himself what he truly wanted and honoring that truth. He learned that disappointing others is sometimes the necessary price we must pay to avoid completely disappointing our own selves. True connection cannot exist where there is only performance. It requires the courage to be vulnerable, raw, and completely authentic. We often trap ourselves in cages of our own making, believing that our worth is tied strictly to our usefulness. But your worth is inherent. It does not depend on how much of yourself you can sacrifice for someone else. Like Elias, you have the absolute right to set boundaries, to say no, and to protect your own precious energy. The journey from being a chronic people pleaser to becoming an authentically grounded individual is rarely an easy, smooth path. It requires you to sit with the discomfort of being misunderstood, trusting that your peace of mind is truly worth it. When you stop trying to be everything for everyone, you finally create the space to be something real for yourself. The people who truly belong in your life will celebrate your boundaries, not complain that you are no longer compliant. Take a moment today to pause, breathe deeply, and ask yourself the very same question that changed Elias's entire life. You are very good at being what other people need. But what is it that you actually want for yourself? Do not be afraid of the answer, for it holds the key to unlocking the invisible chains that constantly bind you. Embrace your authentic desires and watch as the world slowly adjusts to the beautiful reality of your true, unmasked self. Let go of the exhausting need to perform and step into the quiet, profound strength of your own genuine existence. Your life is a precious gift, meant to be lived fully, not just managed to keep everyone else completely comfortable. The most revolutionary act you can commit in this demanding world is to simply choose yourself without any lingering guilt. May Elias's journey inspire you to remove your own masks and step confidently into the warm light of your own truth. Thank you for walking this path of self-discovery with us, exploring the deep corners of the human mind together. Until we meet again, stay true to yourself. Thank you for watching Gentle Mind Shift. Have a wonderfully peaceful day.